Today, we will be discussing a subject related to media, culture, and society. We will be talking about a form of disobedience to conformity. We will be focusing on a younger generation. Many documentaries have been made about the need to fit in when you're younger, about peer pressure, which is a very common subject, but we rarely talk about these few individuals who actually want to be different and not necessarily fit in. So who are these think different people? How are they different? And what is their motivation to be so different from other people of their own generation?
You're just in time. I believe I've isolated the algorithm for making friends.
Sheldon, there is no algorithm for making friends.
Hear him out. If he's really onto something, we could open a booth at Comic-Con, make a fortune.
See, my initial approach to Kripke had the same deficiencies as those that plagued Stu the Cockatoo when he was new at the zoo.
Stu the Cockatoo?
Yes, he's new at the zoo.
It's a terrific book. I've distilled its essence into a simple flowchart that will guide me through the process.
Have you thought about putting him in a crate while you're out of the apartment?
Hello, Kripke. Yeah, Sheldon Cooper here. It occurred to me that you hadn't returned any of my calls because I hadn't offered any concrete suggestions for pursuing our friendship. Yet perhaps the two of us might share a meal together. Yeah, I see. Well, then perhaps you'd have time.
Peer pressure is influence that a peer group or individual exerts that encourages others to change their attitudes, values, or behaviors to conform to group norms. Peer pressure is everywhere, and it creates a certain conformity because everyone wants to be cool and popular. But today things are changing. The idea of being different isn't so negative and scary anymore. Our society is pushing us more and more towards the idea of being ourselves, thinking and being different from others. It's okay to be different. Apple even created her punchline, "Think different," in 1997. Today, being different is okay. If you look at certain elements of our society, you can see how the mentality has changed. The geeks from the show The Big Bang Theory, for example, have gone from zero to hero. Anyone can be a hero today. If you look at certain campaigns or commercials like the Levi's campaign, "Your life is your life," you can see that it pushes you to be yourself, to take chances and change your life, to be different. We can also talk about the infamous hipsters of our generation, who represent the true essence of what being different is all about. They constantly create new trends and are not afraid to think different.
Your life is your life. Don't let it be clubbed into dank submission. Be on the watch. There are ways out. There is light somewhere. It may not be much light, but it beats the darkness. Be on the watch. The gods will offer you chances. Know them. Take them. You can't beat death, but you can beat death in life sometimes. And the more often you learn to do it, the more light there will be. Your life is your life. Know it while you have it. You are marvelous. The gods wait to delight in you.
But then again, anyone can be a hipster today. And we're back to this idea of conformity in our society. Those youngsters who want to be different by the way they think, dress, do not want to be associated to a certain group. It's almost an insult to them. We can observe that in this documentary entitled, "I Am Other."
What's the difference between a hipster and what are you?
Hipsters wear tighter jeans. These are fairly loose. They're not really skinnies. I mean, look, a hipster, it would have been like ridiculous, and they'd be like using a MacBook right now or something.
Am I a hipster? If I had an arts degree and a coke problem, what would be a hat that a hipster would wear?
Oh, the smaller the brim, the lower the crown, the better. Like this. This is a very popular hat.
This is called the pork pie. What is a hipster?
Hipster is like trying to be special in Norway. They like art and maybe special music.
They would read books because they're cool to read, not because they want to read a book. Or they will listen to music because it's not popular.
I don't consider myself a hipster.
Are you guys hipsters?
No.
Sometimes.
Did you ever think of maybe like transporting illegal contraband in that thing?
Crosses my mind when when you go through customs and everyone stops and looks at you and what they say when we're coming here, like maybe pat down that guy's hair. Yeah.
I mean, I think it just has a negative connotation that it's like someone who's just trying to be hip but isn't actually hip, which was my kind of view on it too at first.
I think it's not a bad thing to be a hipster.
Listen, if you're not an asshole, I don't really care what you are.
Many celebrities today encourage this idea to be yourself and to not be afraid to be different. The infamous Lady Gaga is the essence of what being different is all about in our generation. She constantly encourages this idea to not fall into conformity. Many other celebrities encourage this idea and support this idea by always being and looking different.
Do you ever think that maybe I could tone it down or should tone it down? Does that ever cross your mind? No,
absolutely not. I don't believe that there's a system to it, and I don't believe there's a paradigm for how it should be. I don't believe that there's an expectation or should be an expectation, and I certainly don't believe it's a competition. You know, I think art and music is really subjective, and you can only be yourself. And if you're not being yourself and you're being an idea of yourself, it's an injustice to everything that you stand for, unless maybe you're an artist that doesn't stand for what I stand for, but I stand for being yourself and loving who you are and being proud. So if I was to wash my mouth out every night before I went on stage and iron my hair a little too finely, my fans wouldn't buy it. You know, they would know, they'd see right through me. They know I'm not perfect.
Another good example of our generation trying to be different and disobey in a way to authority and conformity is the street art example. Shepard Fairey, the famous graffiti artist, started the brand Obey, which almost immediately was reinvented by another group of individuals which came up with the name Disobey. This example shows the need to always create something new and go against general trends. Fashion is very important to young people who have this need to feel and be different from others. It is a way of expressing themselves and their way of showing it to the outside world. New trends are being created every day and then forgotten when they become popular. It's about having this one thing that no one else has. What we wanted to prove here is that the idea of obeying to the society in conformity is evolving. Our generation is pushed toward a new way of thinking where people have the right to be different in the way they think, but also the way they look. Our society is changing, and the younger generation is becoming more and more tolerant in our opinion. But what we have also asked ourselves is, can you really be different from everyone else? Don't we always find that group of people who resembles us in the end? We are for the idea of being able and allowed to be ourselves. We also think that every individual is different and should continue to make the diversity of our society grow.
Here's to the crazy ones. The misfits. The rebels. The troublemakers. The round pegs in the square holes. The ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.